I see dudes living with women, they miserable. You know what I mean? They miserable.
I experienced I would say I experienced the heaven and hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where being able to come home to a cooked meal, that was a good benefit. But then, like I said, I needed my space. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting to the point where, because women get jealous and they get their feelings about certain things. So I've been on my way home and I'm getting a call like, I ain't picking up your phone. Like, listen, I
ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, I can't do all that. I can't,
Yeah, that's like slavery, yo. I'm a slave. You know what I mean? And if you worried about me laying the pipe, you ain't gotta worry about it, because I'm telling you, I'm gonna lay the pipe. So if that's
you're gonna tell her what it is.
Yeah, like if that's like, every female I met when I first met, like that's how I believe in polygyny, right? But dealing with Black American sisters, they ain't trying to hear that shit. Not the ones in my age range, but they had to understand if I was dating this person, that person, and then you came along, right? So, but as time progressed and you click like I said with my child's mother, we just started clicking, like, you know what I mean? It was like, yo, shit. That's why we still tight right now. We had our rough spot at the wrong moment, but shit, you know what I mean? I'm grateful. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful she provided me a seed. I'm grateful she a great mother. I'm grateful she a good woman. Like, you know what I mean? I got even when we was beefing, I never had nothing bad to say about her. You know what I mean? And that's like, sometimes, man, you don't look at yourself when you at the ugly version of yourself, right? Regardless of what might have transpired, like whatever the woman going through and shit like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta ask yourself, was I my best during this time? And if you wasn't, then you gotta say, you know what, all that shit gotta be water under the bridge, right? You live, you learn. Some people never get to love or be loved, right? And if you had that, then you a wealthy person. You take the lesson on and go. You know what I mean? You can't hold on to nothing that don't want to be held on to.
Yeah. And whatever's yours, it won't go.
It's gonna come back. It's always gonna come back, right? You know what I mean? But you can't come back after you had 1,000 dicks and you see
she might say that same about you. Like,
women, no, not necessarily. Like, it's different if you left the household and come, like, you know what I mean, right? It's different, right? Like, I was watching something earlier today, a clip. Chick was fat. She started working out. As soon as she got down to something where people start hollering at her, she started cheating on her husband. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's weak.
Yeah, it's weak. Like, so you rather y'all women say y'all want marriage, y'all say y'all want this, so you rather throw away all that because now you're not fat no more, and you gonna let other people slut you out. There was another woman, she was like, dude she was with, was supporting her while she was going to college and doing all that. Once she leveled up, he was no longer good to her. And she was like, yo, I went around effing this dude, that dude, but I kept crying at night on a pillow, right? And I realized I messed up. See, and like, men don't think like that. Men, when men level up, if they got somebody that's holding them down, and really, they take that person with them, right? But a lot of women, they think the opposite. They fall victim to the devil's civilization. You know what I mean? And then now, like, a lot of these women falling victim to the whole aspect, to the sexy red aspect, and all of that. So it's like, yo, when did we allow poor behavior to be central in Black culture? You know what I mean? Because it always was ratchet behavior, project behavior, right? But if you look at it now, you would think that that's the whole spectrum of behavior, right? So for women, it's the ratchet joint. For the dudes, everybody want to be a crash out dummy or whatever they call that nowadays. And it behooves me, like, yo, like, we don't even, if you don't strategically put yourself in rooms or strategically, and that's mental rooms as well as physical rooms, you would think that if other people looking, you would think that this is black culture, ratchetness.
Well, that's because it's been promoted that way. That's it's by design, like.
Yeah, and it's working, and it's working. So that's like,
And the fact that we don't own the distribution of our media.
but we do own what we see. Like, right? If I feel like my timelines is out of sync, I go straight to the pages I want, like, and I change the algorithm to what's gonna come in my timeline. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you might can go down a rabbit hole and watch something that might be ratchet because you like more intrigued. The next thing you know, it's flooding your timeline. So you have to go strategically and change the algorithms to what's more like, yo, mentally. See, we act like the mental food is we overlook it, and you can't overlook it, yo. Like that's like sometimes like I used to like watching the news. I can't watch the news now because every time I turn, it's some stupid shit with this president. I'm like, yo, like, listen, man. I see my groceries is $20 more. Don't think I don't notice that. You know what I mean? And you talking about putting more tariffs, going to get laws from 1807 and all type. I'm like, okay. Sooner or later, you got to burn out with what you're doing. So I want to see what you can create. Because you can't sustain what you're doing for 4 years because it's going to be no more, it's going to be nothing left to cut.
Well, I mean, according to him, there's a plan. So there's a, you know, if you look at what he's saying, there's a burnout, and then there's
I need to see.
recovery.
I need to see a plan because if you're planning to make America great again, great for who? What time period you talking about?
That's the
right?
that's the question right there.
So
Great for who?
like the abortion stuff, that don't got nothing to do with us. They got negative population growth. So that's why they pulling all the law, because they would say black, no, it was your women getting all those abortions. That's why that's why y'all dying out as a people. And we looking like, oh, they doing this. No, they doing that for their own people, for their own survival. Why you think Elon Musk got all those kids? Right, it's some movement that they a part of. I forgot it to lose me right now, but yeah, to have more kids, like that's their thing. We gotta have more kids. So if you got negative population growth over here for white people, negative population growth in their home continent, which is Europe, right? They scared. So they technically what they doing is reactionary, right? They doing is reactionary, and we looking like, oh, they hurting us. No, they're trying to survive.
Yeah, well,
Right?
see, there's layers to that because, you know, like the Trump administration right now is like, you know, trying to privatize a lot of the necessities that we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Like, right, but now that's what I'm saying, you know, like gutting out the Board of Education, right? You know, or the Department of Education. But we, as a nation, have already come to the conclusion that we need to homeschool our children. But we, as a whole, haven't implemented that. So many of us have, you know, have taken advantage of being citizens and become, you know, like have become seduced by the privileges and benefits of the government. So now that they're taking them away, now you kind of asked out now.
But is they taking them away? Because if you look at it, the Department of Education don't fund states like on the state level, right? They give a small amount of funding for certain things. States, so they saying that technically, and they're always supposed to be states' rights over federal rights. This is why each state has its own constitution, right? The federal government technically is supposed to be like a mediator, organizer, and the federal government really supposed to be dealing with international commerce, right?
That's a fact.
So the things that they are doing, right? You have to look why, right? Because their children don't go to public schools, right? You know what I mean? So, how many billionaires are in his administration, right?
That's a good question.
So, right, and what are they there for? Just like, why is Elon Musk there, right? Why did he spend $270 million to help Trump get elected, right? You know what I mean? Why is you're not even American, right? So you can't be the president if you was not born in America. That's just why Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't run for president. He can only be governor, right? So this person, Elon Musk, right? He grew up in apartheid, right? He grew up in apartheid.
And his family benefited from it.
Of course, right? Trump grandfather is a German, right? There's pictures of his father, either his father or his grandfather, at Klan's rally. Black and white pictures, right? But people don't see that because they see Trump is from New York. Trump is from Queens, right?
They don't go back. They don't trace it all the way back.
So that white nationalistic ideology already been there. So it's no coincidence that he would link with an Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is a sucker. He supposed to be this genius. As soon as you get frustrated, I don't know why people talking about me. What? You supposed to be this great thinker or whatever they say, or probably a great thief, because I'm pretty sure you stole people's ideas, right? But they weak men, right? They weak men. Like some of them other dudes, like Sam Altman, Peter Thiel, all these dudes don't get women because they gay, right? So, and I'm pretty sure they probably couldn't get women, so they turned gay, right? So now it's like you got these dudes operating at some of the highest levels in technology, and they not even thinking like men, right?
By design.
Right? So cool. So now, when you see, okay, if you're not thinking a certain way, how can I trust your project, right? That's like they're trying to, which I think is crazy, but that's just me, right? They're trying to hook up build a nuclear power plant and hook the AI up to it.
So that it can empower the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And you know how long nuclear power lasts, right? It's cheap, it's few, but it lasts a long time. So now, okay, whenever they master quantum chips, right? Because they keep shutting down for some reason. They never going to tell us the real reason, but we know you don't spend hundreds of $billions into a project and just shut it down without some shit that even spooked you cats, right? They said Google just shut down their quantum physics program, quantum chip program, right? Quantum chip's supposed to be like, like when you do the research and what it could do, you be like, wow, like, but they don't know everything because we don't know everything, right? And I think that goes all the way back to when they was burning the libraries in Egypt. They was burning the Mayan and Aztec libraries, right? Because you got to think, whatever books they had was one of a kind on some type of paper, papyrus, or some type of bark. So now if you burnt, in the name of Christianity, if you burnt all this information,
threatening their rule, basically.
No, they was ignorant, right? So they was ignorant. So if you don't, so imagine the amount of knowledge we lost and where we could be as a society, right? To this day, they don't know how these pyramids, how they got these big stones that's cut with precision without having lasers. They every time you turn around, they done found something else under. Like, you still digging underneath that dirt, that desert, and you still finding stuff, right? So we don't really know what they really found because we're not the ones that's doing the digging, right? So boom, then it's a pyramid in China, it's a pyramid over here. So somehow that tells you that these cultures some way had to be connected, right? But I can't let you really put the two and two together.
Bro, why you not ringing the doorbell, man? Like I told you.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot, G. It's a lot, G. So they diabolical, and if it left up to them, they gonna destroy the planet, yo, and destroy us along with it.
Well, and that's why I'm more so for us to get our shit together, right? Meaning like the politics of Trump and politics of people that was running against Trump to get into the office. That's we historically keep getting asked to choose the lesser of two evils, which is evil in itself, right? But a lot of times we don't have no fight, have no dog in that fight because we're not together on a local level. We don't know like that politics. We don't know like you talk about they're going into the around the world doing whatever they're doing all around the world. We don't know that. But if we always like get together, like this knowledge, like in terms of like 120, it connects us to that. But a lot of us don't even acknowledge that.
See, I think that when you look at, I saw a post the other day, right? It says that people that's 60 years and under are the first people, black people, that experience full rights in this country.
That experience.
Full rights. Right? So when was this?
That's propaganda.
No, when was the civil rights laws passed?
That's what the equality cycle is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Jim Crow, so we didn't have certain rights.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? So
I wonder what premises you saying this person.
So saying that, like, the restrictions, Jim Crow was a real system, right? Segregation was a real system, right? We didn't have so-called equal rights. You know what I mean? So I said, wow, that's deep. And if you look at that, we born in the 70s, right? All this stuff just happened before we was born, right? So now, I think that we have to give ourselves some grace, right? We're not, me personally, right? Democrat, Republican, right? You know what I mean? Like, that don't serve our interests, right? I know that, right? You know what I mean? This is why I'm not neither none. But I do think that, we have to create something that will serve our interests. But the thing is, if nothing happens without money, right? So if I can co-opt your money class, then I don't gotta worry about stuff happening, because how is stuff gonna be funded? Right? I can co-opt it. Let's take it, for instance, let's take it on a smaller scale. Let's take the nation of gods and earth. Look at all the gods and earths that benefited, got some type of celebrity from the culture, right? And now all of a sudden they reach a certain level, they something else, right? Erykah Badu never sold 3 million copies again once she stopped being in 3/4, right? So
she was never a citizen of this nation, though.
I heard in the bill she said it was some guard from Fort Greene who taught her in one of the interviews, right? You know what I mean? Like, and forget I was.
I wouldn't. So sparked and everything, but I don't think.
But she still used the symbolism,
yes,
right? Boom. She say something about to guard your bone in one of her on that first I'm about to say tape, but that's what it was, like, you know what I mean? So boom, look at Wu-Tang, right? These are some of the people that was the highest celebrities that was 5%ers. RZA a Muslim, Ghost a Muslim, Ray a Muslim. Right. It goes back to what I was saying about showing on a micro level. If the money class of people that have the same ideology like you got don't stay with that ideology, how you can build, right?
Well, no, because see, and I'm not gonna get into a build of defending RZA because that's a whole other thing in terms of I know. From what I'm doing now, he's a smart man, and that whole Muslim thing of him going to Mecca. Us as a nation, as a 5% nation, we have questions. We want to know what was that about.
I don't have any questions. It's self-evident.
A
man has a right. My understanding is a man has the right to choose their journey and their path.
Right. So I don't think he necessarily denounced this. However,
he took Shahada. He took Shahada. The dude brought him out, paraded him out. You know what I mean? When he had the white robe on, and
I think that's a political thing more so than ideology.
I can't see how, right? Like, it's like this, right? You never give up yourself for anything, yo. Mm-hmm. I don't care what it is. It's like.
You think he gave it the knowledge himself to do that,
I didn't. That's what he did, and he showed it to the world. If you show something to I'm not doing certain things, right?
Right.
I'm not into certain things, so I'm not doing certain things, right? And sometimes people don't even come to you unless you have a certain type of presence.
Right. And so he was kind of used so that that was political.
It's like, listen, man. A spade is a spade, man. Like, I don't I don't try to put no type of mathematics. That doesn't mean I respect him less, because I don't. I still respect all those brothers, right? Right? Because I know that, nobody can take the history of the legacy of what they did for the culture, right? Nobody can take that away from them, right? So their choices that they made as the men that they are now, that's on them. That's not my argument. My argument is that if you don't have the money class, right? When these PACs, these political action committees, they raise hundreds of millions of dollars to support their causes. Without that money, a lot of these causes don't exist, right? So how can you fight when you're not even fighting with the same type of weaponry that they use in the fight with, right? Right? You know how the story of Hebrew, Seth, and a Set, right? A Set and a Saw, right?
I'm familiar.
Okay. Do you know how Hebrew, which was also Esau's son, right? Seth was Horus, Esau's brother. But do you know after he chopped up dude in all these different pieces and stuff, right? And tricked him and put him in the joint. Do you know how Hebrew or Horus, whichever name, how he beat Seth? So, Seth knocked his eyeball out, right? That's why he got one eye, right? So, they would battle. He can't beat him, right? But Seth represent law and order. He beated him by binding him with his own laws. You know what I mean? this is what you said. Now I'm holding you accountable to what you said.
What you said.
You know what I mean? And that's how he beat him. He bind them with his own laws, man. Right? So it's like when I study when our people came out the enslavement process, right? The churches and stuff like that. They was building insurances, they was building schools, they was building libraries, they was building all the things socially our people need to develop, right? That church, not this church, that church, right? So, because that's where the means of the resources came through, right? Then you had other people like, what's his name? Fortune, upstate. He had sailboats. He was doing international trade like in 1840, 1850. He built schools on his land. So it showed that everybody back then, the money class of people was investing to develop our people. It's like
So the money class of the 5% nation is I can't really say that it's fully known.
so what I'm me neither, right? But we were just using that as a microcosm to show how
No,
on
it's
the macrocosm, how as black people as a whole over here, like the money, all the money people that we got over here, period.
Right.
If we try to like if
No,
we try
this
to
is why I
do
say,
so,
this is why I
right?
said, I will cut you with
Go ahead.
this is why I said that move was a political move on RZA's part, at least from what I can see. I don't know, I'm not in the man's mind, I don't have a relationship to tell you exactly what his mind, but from what it looks like, it was a political thing, because as a 5% nation, you don't know where is the money class? Money class is most likely in the streets, right? The so-called money class of the 5% nation, right? But then you take like the money class of the Muslim world. Okay, now I can take my money and I can do this and I can tie it in with this, because the money class here is only gonna go but so far, at least on this level.
But that defeats the purpose of development, yo. We talking about development. We not talking about doing business and getting rich, right? Because
No, we are talking about.
No, that's not what we talk. We started off saying that we said that the Republicans, that doesn't serve our people. Then we said, yo, we need something different.
True,
then we said, then I was like, how could we do something different if we need the money class of our people with our ideology, right?
Right.
So,
but then you get the mentality of, well, I can't do nothing here. And you say, all right, I'm developing, to develop it, and I've been trying to develop it to my own detriment, so to speak.
No, I think it's like this, man. When your ideology is in tune with your integrity and you got the resources, you can build what you want to build, right? Because I see it's done all the time, right? So I think that's an excuse. Right? I see with the meager resources that I got, I done put 5 books out, right? Simon & Schuster put thousands of books out a year and got hundreds of $1 million marketing and all that type of stuff, right? So it's like, that's not, your integrity gotta beat with your ideology, right? It's just some people, like, they know that some people is renegade. Look at the brother Toure over there in Burkina Faso. They paid off their debt. They don't owe no international debt, right? They're a landlocked country, right? They building schools. They building this. The dude from Saudi Arabia said, "Hey, yo, we'll build 200 mosques." He said, "No, thank you. We don't need mosques. We got enough. We need education and we need employment and we need hospitals, right?" So why didn't dude say, if you such a Muslim, whatever, you can build 200 mosques. You can't build 200 schools? Right? But he said no, because his integrity, right, is in tune with his ideology.
Right, now I go with that. See, now you touching on something right there in terms of integrity and shared values amongst us. That's something that that is in transition, that needs to be developed further, that's not in a proper place of what you're talking about, whereas like you're saying to develop it, and like you said, I got the integrity to take, all right, well, so-and-so got this skill and trade, and let me, invest in this person, this, that, that. There's no real connection, and there's no real agreement to that.
So, this is like, when you stand for what you stand for, man, the agreement supposed to come naturally, or you don't stand for it, right? It's like, one time I was in prison, right? So I'm like 30 something. So I'm talking to the young dudes and stuff, right? So they would say, oh, people do anything for money, right? I said, that's not the truth. And they trying to argue me. I said, I'm gonna show you why it's not the truth. Every one of y'all gave up y'all freedom, right? I said, isn't your freedom worth more than money? And you stood on certain principles and code. You came to prison rather than be a rat, and that's not the same thing. It is because you can die in here.
Your values, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Replacing your values.
So, but I think that we get what money can do to access. We get it confused, right? So, and a lot of times we don't see, okay, how do we strategically develop, right? And I think that the wheel don't have to be reinvented because our people been doing it, right? It's just the fact that we don't understand that we have a historical adversary, right? You know what I mean? And he works 15 times as hard against us. So I'm watching something, right? And dude was asking to Jesse, he said Jesse Jackson, somebody was asking Jesse Jackson a question. Somebody asked him, why do black people excel in sports like they dominate, take over versus any other industry? And in the response they said Jesse Jackson gave is because the rules of those games don't change. So saying that if you keep the playing field fair, we will automatically excel, right? But since you don't keep the playing field fair, you do skullduggery because that's your nature, right? So, and I think with us, we get caught up in the glamour, the glitz, you know what I mean?
That's a problem.
Because that's what capitalism produces, right? So, you need resources to exchange for other resources. We're not even going to front like that's not what it is. But then you have extremism inside of capitalism where I gotta have everything. I gotta have every chair in here, including yours, for me to feel like, I'm something. Right? You know what I mean? Like collective thinking it's not taught. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not taught. So it's like, since it's not taught, like when people talk about China, right? China, when they want to build projects, when they want to do something,
that's an
they ain't
example
got,
of collective
boom.
thinking. That's an example of collective thinking and a real culture, as opposed to the United States being a corporation. I mean, it has a culture, but it's not that culture is more centered on family values.
And they have an ideology, right?
And collective
So
thinking, yes.
when Mao Zedong won the country from the nationalists, which they went to Taiwan, that's why he said it's only one China. You know what I mean? The first thing Mao Zedong did was they locked their borders down for 25 years. That's a generation, right? And instituted the mentality that they needed amongst their people. The first president that came to China when they opened back up was Nixon. Right?
That's an interesting point.
So they fully invested. When you look at, if you go on TikTok and go to type in kindergarten, what the Chinese children do in the kindergarten, they cook their own food, they sewing, they doing this and that, because they saying, we giving them certain skills before we giving them so-called this type of academic. So it's like, and of course they are homogeneous society, right? So I understand that. Over here, regardless of American corporation, it's a bunch of systems, right? You have the WASP, that's who came over here first and stole everything, right? Which is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? Then you had the other groups of European that later became white, right? But when you look at who's on the top, it's always the WASP. When you go to like Maine and all these different states, they call it the East Coast establishment, right? Those is WASP. You know what I mean? Those is WASP. Those are the people that's like these are the people that didn't let Trump into their golf courses, which is why he built his own golf courses. Right? It's almost like that movie American Gods, right? I mean, not the movie, but that TV show American Gods, when they had the old gods like Zeus and them, and the new gods that was coming up, which was the techno gods and stuff like that. It's interesting. You should.
I didn't say that. What's the name? It's called what?
American Gods.
American
I think it was
Gods?
on AMC or TNT. It was on one of them joints, but you can a quick Google, it'll show you where it's coming at. But so that's how they got going on with themselves as well too, right? So when it come, but the thing that keep them together is that they don't like nobody, right? They definitely, and the only reason they don't like mainly black men, right? Imagine black men travel all over the world. We left our impact. Imagine you come thousands years later because other black men taught you how to use the globe and taught you how to bathe and built some of your big institutions over there in Europe, your educational institutions, before you kicked them out, right? And then you come with your boats, with your rats and your pigs on it, and you try to travel everywhere, right? Everywhere you go, you sleep with the women, and nothing but melanin seeds is produced. So imagine you can't even reproduce yourself with your own bloodline. That does something. So it's no. So when because you gotta ask yourself, why were y'all cutting black men penis off? Right? If I'm beefing with you, I'm not cutting your penis off.
Right, because
See what I'm saying?
We gonna get your women and we gonna do what we do.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like the ISIS paper by Frances Cresswell. You ever read that book?
Yes.
Right? And you know, she was a psychology.
Psychologist.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I respect her so much because she lost her job. She lost everything by telling the truth. Right? Integrity. You know what I mean? So when you understand, if you read the ISIS paper, it's 3 books that I would recommend people read. The ISIS paper, Iceman and Heritage by Bradley, and this book called Yorugu. It's critiquing European Eurocentric thinking, right? It's like that book is like, it's a thick book, but it's worth it. And then study Europe. I'm not talking about the Europe. I'm talking about when they was the Vandals, when they was the Germanic tribe. So when you study
after Rome fell,
even before that, or even after,
during because you know when Rome fell, it was those people that took over.
So
that's how the empires rose into Europe.
So when you look at how they was living, how they was thinking, how they was moving, right? You know what I mean? Their natural mentality is destruction, right? You know what I mean? So and when you understand that, you go say, okay, how can I get mad at you for being yourself?
How can you get mad at a snake for being a snake?
You know what I mean? Like when one of my peoples, right? After the dude Penny got found not guilty for choking out the dude on the train, right? So when Kobe said, "Yo, how what do you think about that?" I said, "I don't think nothing about it." I said, and the only reason you thinking something about it because you expect them to be better than who they are. and they keep showing you time and time again, they are who they are, right? And then to antagonize people more, Trump invited the dude to the Army and Navy game with him and Vance, right? And people get up, oh, you can't let people control you. Symbolism is nothing, right? So you can't let people fire. Oh, they knocking down the BLM stuff. They scraping that. That's just paint on a wall, man. That's just paint on the floor, right? You can't have no emotional detachment to that stuff like that, because if I know you have emotional detachment to stuff like that, I can control you, right? And it's like, and people are emotional. Why? Who knows why, right? If I knew that, I'll be tapped into some other type of stuff. But the people that understand should never stop sharing they understanding, right? Like, people might not want to hear you, and maybe what you share might not even be for this era. But when you share it, one thing about it, anything that's digitized or in print is going to be here forever. Right? So when people 100, 200 years from now, when they study and they got their little micro books and stuff like that, they say, let me study back in the day. What was going on back then? Right? They run across certain things. They run across this version of hip hop. Okay, then they start studying hip hop and they say, oh, the B-boy stand is a 5% stand. The Cipher, they talk, that's a 5% technology, right? So let me see who the 5%ers are. And when they put in 5%ers, all the 5%ers that left a record of they were here, resurrect mentally, right?
Well, unless you have campaigns of those who were, revisionists, historic, those who try to.
But why you? But it always will be, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you stop trying in your era, right? So it's like one of the reasons. Great segment to the book. Let me see the book, right? One of the reasons I wrote this book. He got it upside down. Oh, he can't read. It's upside down. A 5% journey from the streets to the cipher, right? Everything in here is symbolism. You see what I'm saying? These is roots. This is my roots. The gun, right? The hand clash is brotherhood. Sometimes brotherhood send you to prison, right? In prison, I went under intense study. Then I came home and I was a servant of the people. Because that's what we're supposed to be, servants of the people, right? And then what's on the root? That's how I became a Mallah Divine. And this is me sitting in a peaceful understanding with the third eye on fleek. You know what I mean? And it shows, I wanted to show my struggle, my journey from the to the cipher, right? I'm not a 5%er that had knowledge of self as far as under our teachings and kept going back to prison, right? You know what I mean? I think, you keep going back to prison and you got knowledge of self, you a failure. You know what I mean? Not just the way I see it, because knowledge of self is supposed to have a transformation component. So I'm showing you this is who I was. This is who I am, right? I've been a 5%er longer than I was a person in the street, right? But it was because once I understood transformation of behavior, transformation of thinking, transformation of being, how can you still be the same nigga? It's impossible unless you don't have knowledge of self. You might have knowledge of some degrees on some paper. You might be a parrot and quoting, but you don't have knowledge of self. Muhammad Ali said it best, right? He said, if I'm 50 years old and I'm living my life like I'm 20, I done wasted 30 years of my life, right? So when people say they got knowledge of self, but yet they still I can't see how you guard and you gonna sell crack or heroin to our people. right? I can't see how you God when you want to rob our people, right? None of them is doing no crimes against the devil. None of them is doing cyber crimes against the devil. None of them is attacking devil institutions. None of them is even selling drugs in the devil neighborhoods, right? To at least make it seem like, yeah, yo, this is my tactic of fighting war. They just enriching themselves. Look at me, I'm shitting, right?
Well, I think that goes into what we build on, like your value system. Like, what kind of values did you have coming into this? Did you value? You said you came into this. You had certain values that you didn't have to get from this culture already.
That's a fact.
You had things that was instilled in you from your parents and your people that produced you. And some people just came into this and didn't have that.
Yeah, but that's not no excuse.
No, it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation.
It's not even an explanation, right? Because it's like once you say, yo, I'm putting myself under intense study, right?
And people don't even do that.
I'm not, what they do or they don't do, that's not
what
the
they're
argument.
supposed to do. That's what they're required.
So this is what I'm saying, right? So it's like, you saying that, yo, you the father of civilization and God of the universe, right?
I sit in with you.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you saying all these different things, right? And you say, okay, maybe when you a teenager, maybe when you in your 20s, but once you hit 30, 40, 50, and 60, I can't buy that, yo. Mm-hmm. I can't buy that. You can't tell me you are these mature ages physically, but your behavior is of a teenager or somebody in their 20s. Mm. Like, and you know what I mean? Then we say, especially if you a father. Especially if you a father.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's an excuse, right? It's an excuse, right? So it's like, but it serves whatever purpose. It's like, cats come into this culture still with a gang mentality. Right? So it's just switching out one thing for another.
That's the values that they came with. It's just now learning how to shed that is another process.
Hey God, excuse me, Almighty. I'm God knowledge of all peace. See, that's what the knowledge of self brings you. See, the knowledge of self brings you.
You know, we recorded, right? So I mean, we recorded. So I don't know if you want to add on to the site.
I'd like to add on. What the God just said.
Okay, I'm saying I'm recording.
When people come into the knowledge of self, this is where they come to go from the dead world to the world of the living mathematics. You know what I'm saying? They're going from the darkness to the light. So regardless of where they coming in, if they under that banner of who's the 85%er, the uncivilized people, the poison animal eater, slave of a mental death and power, people who do not know who the true living God is or their origin in this world and worship that they know not of, and are easily led in the wrong direction and hard to be led in the right direction, this knowledge is going to change all that. So they may come in here with gang mentality. They may come in here with just dead world mentality. They may come in here with a church mentality. They may come in here with all kind of things that's contrary to who they knowledge of self is. That the black man is God, of being the highest thing, the mother and father of civilization. This knowledge is what changes all that. Because look at us when we got knowledge of self. Especially if you came to knowledge of self and your mother and father wasn't righteous. You know what I'm saying? So the knowledge will change. You know, if you're sincere with it. But it's going to give you a higher way of thinking. A higher way of living. You understand what I'm saying, God? And I understand when you come in, and just like the God said, because you're going to find a lot of people who might come with a gang mentality. But then they get lost because a lot of them become followers.
As I said, but even with that, you have 5% of the 5%, right? Meaning that there's going to be those who are going to take it and elevate and develop themselves, and then there's going to be those who just want to hang out.
But then God, that's why I tell you, many shall come, but only a few shall be chosen. And those who are chosen are the one who choose themselves to be righteous. You'll find a lot of people want the knowledge, but they don't want to be righteous. I see people want the knowledge so they can run game on people, so they can pull wisdom. I seen 85% just come and they used to be righteous and want to come and see how strong you are. You know what I'm saying? Come to ask you God and got no mathematics and they wanted to see how strong you are. Where you ask some people, they know that mathematics, everybody know mathematics out there. They know degree. What's the day? 18. Knowledge, build, or destroy. You'll find that people have the knowledge of who chose themselves to be righteous, to live according to mathematics, living mathematics. You know what I'm saying? Not just showing and telling, but showing and proving. You know what I'm saying? They live in this. They show and prove. They represent this nation of gods and earth. You know what I'm saying? They represent that the black man is God and the white man is the devil by their ways and actions. They say actions speak louder than words. You know, your name might be this, but let's see what their action be. Just like the God said, I'm equality born. I'll be God's Cipher this year. But then for me to run around and acting like a young buck, my pants sagging down and all this, like I'm at the old teach the young. You know what I'm saying? The civilized teach the uncivilized. You know, the righteous teach the unrighteous. So for me acting like that, so what's that? The young teaching the old? How I'm adapting their culture when it ain't positive. If they knew where it came from, that's a jailhouse culture. Pants sagging down because they took their belt and their pants. But if you got knowledge and stuff, we mature. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge is infinite. You know what I'm saying? As we elevate, we get wiser. That gray hair in your head, God, that's a sign of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? This is what that is. So, hey, Almighty, I love building with you, God, and I hope that added on something positive, because I just came through. Like I said, you on camera?
Yeah, we on camera. We on.
Peace, I'm God Mallah Divine, and I just add on to the cipher, God. Peace, God.
Peace, God.
What's your name, God?
I'm Allah Infinite.
Allah Infinite.
Yeah, I know you from some.
Of course you know me.
Yeah,
I had now 55 years. Yeah, you know Allah. Peace, God.
Peace, I'm Mallah Divine.
Allah Divine.
Mullah Divine.
Huh?
Mullah Divine.
Mullah.
Yes.
That's peace, God. Mullah. I don't even I know God named Mullah, but that's great. You know what I'm saying? The Father said, take names from our mathematical alphabet and show and prove, change the Muslim name and get righteous name. So that's what we did, and that's peace, God. I'm glad to see you, God. Because see, I just been away for a minute.
Okay.
But like I said, I've been around, but I'm glad to add on to the cipher.
Now we just add on to God. Just wrote a book. You know.
You?
Yeah.
What's your name, God?
Mallah Divine.
Oh, okay. I'm ready to say I ain't understand. I ain't got my little glasses. Look at this right here. This feels like something great. The 5% journey?
Yeah.
The 5% of the journey. Say it all, God. I ain't got my glasses.
A 5% of journey from the streets to the cipher.
From niggas to gods. From niggas to God. You read that book?
Yeah. I know you talking
You
about.
know what I'm saying? Elevation ain't God, that peace. Because what we see and what we live, that's how history is written. What you see and live, you write down. Write down that which was, that which is, and that which will be. You know what I'm saying? We see how a person going, you can predict their history. And God's the best known. You see he eating swine, shooting dope, doing kind of, you can almost predict his history. There ain't gonna be a righteous path he gonna be a destination he go to. Because if you want a path, you're gonna reach a destination. Everyone, you want a righteous path, you're gonna be a destination of righteousness. Infinite life. You know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna come from here. And this controls this. That's why we teach our baby. That's you in another physical. That's why you teach them. And they represent God. When you find out you're the highest, why would you want to be anything less? Word is born to Allah. Peace to the gods.
Peace. When I look at like being a 5%er, man, when I look at, man, that people lost their lives for people to say peace, God, peace, earth, like, I don't take that lightly, yo. Like, you know, you know how much integrity you have to lose your life and stand on your square against all odds, right? Like, it was a brother that I ran. I came across his name in some history. He was from Philly. I think it was in '71 or '72. It say to Allah, and he got killed in the penitentiary system in Pennsylvania because the Muslims told them to stop saying he was Allah. This in the 70s, early 70s, yo. And he didn't stop saying it and they killed him. Right? So it's like, how many people would say, I would do that same fortitude? I can't say I would have did it, right? Because you can't say what you would do unless you in that situation, right? So the fact that people have died, even the guards that was in prison, the level of oppression guards went under for decades just to live this culture and show and prove what we wasn't and what we were, right? To where you had a lot of people tap out. So the guards that didn't tap out, it wasn't easy. So it was like, if you got knowledge of self through the fire, right? You got it through the fire. The way you value it is going to be different than somebody else that got it differently.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, true indeed.
Right. So it's like, I've seen brothers go from 85 through the process of God, right? And then I'm talking about the ones that fell off, became gang members, became whatever they became, homos, religious people, but the ones that steadfast. And then the other gods that came into the culture when we was at high level of oppression. You know how much you really want to have knowledge of soul? If you see, yo, these people are being oppressed by the system because they saying that the black man is God. I want to be that. Right? Because I understand that they are speaking the truth. And I don't care about what consequences that I'm going to face to have that knowledge and to walk and carry that out.
Yeah, it takes some kind of
It
fortitude.
take a hell of a fortitude, right? So it's like, so that's why when you see guards come home from prison, or at least the guards I know that came home from prison, they came home hitting the pavement and getting to it. Right? Because it's like they understand what oppression look like. They understand what having nothing look like, right? And they also understand of, yo, if I showed and prove in there under the worst conditions, why wouldn't I show and prove outside in the free world, the free cipher, right? Nobody knew me out here before I came out here, right? So what did I have to do?
Make yourself known.
And build the equity up in my character. Right? We talk about equity in the house, equity in a thing, but we never talk about the equity in ourselves.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's what I did. I said, hey, let me show and prove, because this is the lifestyle that I chose to live. And if I chose to live it, I might as well live it to the best of my natural ability. And in the process of living it, if somebody else can pick up a jewel, more power to them. Right? Because I ain't in the streets. I ain't on corners. Right? I'll be looking silly being a 50-year-old man.
To be on the corners.
Yeah. Right? So like, you know, there's certain things I'm not doing, right? But that's why I said no matter what we do, we servants of the people, right? We say we know. So when we know, how do we share what we know to the people, right? We do it in our profession. We do it in what we try to build with in our entrepreneurs. Everything we do, it should be, hey, I'm a servant of the people. This is how you don't become a 10%, right? This is how, if you do get certain type of money, you know, okay, I'm a servant of the people. What can I do now? What can I do that I wanted to do when I saw the most amazing thing for the culture? I have the resources now, right?
Now, God, see, brothers, you say, like, talk about in terms of service in service of the people, a lot of people are just service to their appetite.
Well, that's unfortunate, right?
It's very unfortunate.
Right.
And I'm just saying, those are the kind of values that I see that brothers have yet to overcome. Like, you come into this culture with a service to your appetite mentality, whether you want to get this language to make records and become a rap star, or you want to get it to just pimp somebody out, like, or you want to get it to sell your product to this community, whatever it is. Like those things, those are the values that we just, not just as the 5% nation, as a people, black people in general.
Yeah, but where did those values come from, right? Because when we came during the enslavement process, we didn't have those values. After the enslavement process, we didn't have those values.
Oh God, well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Well, if
so,
no, God, well, because God, we were warring amongst each other on the continent.
We're not talking about the continent, right?
Oh no, we're talking about coming over here.
Technically, that's a whole nother conversation. But
no, the reason why I'm tying it in, because I'm just talking about, like, you talk about our values. We didn't like, as if we got those values from the devil. With the devil, we gave the devil everything. So, like,
no, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying that when we was in these downtrodden positions, the way we interacted, the way we moved, the way we thought, it was about development, right? That's just like when during the Great Migration from out of the South, right? When sisters or brothers, either they went to New York, Chicago, Detroit, you know what I mean, out west. My family went to New York, Chicago, and Detroit, right? When one of the siblings went there, they went and got the other siblings, right? So they went and got they friends, right? And told them, hey, yo, this is what's going on right here, and they formed communities. So a lot of stuff you see right now, we wasn't even moving out like that. You know what I mean? Look, when you look at even the gangsters, right? Even the gangsters, right? Bumpy Johnson, right? Look at his relationship he had with Malcolm X, right? So it's like it's a level of corruption in our overall collective integrity, man,
yes,
that we don't even look at, right? So now, yes, so when you see 10 people, right, all 10 supposed to be stand up, right? And then, but we see 10 people, we only see 2 that stand up, right? And we think that that's how it's supposed to be. No, it's not supposed to be like that. All 10 supposed to be stand up, right? Cause it's like, I can't go nowhere without you. It's a South African proverb in Ubuntu, right? I want to say it right. It says, I am because we are, therefore I am, right? So it's like, I'm nothing without you. And when we everything together, right? So it's like, I don't need to cheat you. I don't need to steal from you.
Yeah, see,
right?
God, you concluded those, those attributes of righteousness because you have those values. You come with those values. It's like those values have to be taught. So the value of you sitting right here is immeasurable because you like, all right, I'm coming with, this is what I'm coming with, and this is what is needed. And this is an example that I give, right? Whether it be writing books or doing things in the community, doing what you do. But not everybody has those values. That's the thing, that's the main thing. Like I said, like, the appetite, people are in service to their appetite because people are hungry out here. And they haven't evolved to the level to have those values that you're manifesting right now. So though your book, your work, all that you do, I keep doing it, dog.
That goes without saying. 'Cause I don't know nothing else, right? So it's like, but this can't be it, yo.
No, it can't be it. It gotta be
You
much
see
more.
what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not a pessimistic person, man. I'm an optimistic realist. You know what I mean? You know, and that's just what it is. So I think that like people that got like mind have to start interacting more, right? And I think, and it's like, I touch on some of that in this book, right? So I don't want to go too far depth in that, but it's like, it's just, in our culture, it's different currents. It's just what it is, right? And it's like, and if a person can't see that, then they're blind, right? Because if you're saying that I have to demonstrate myself the way you said somebody else said that the father said back in 1964, and we in 2025, right? And our experience is different, our insight is different, our generational experience is different, as well as our individual experience is different, right? And then you can't say that your understanding is the best understanding, and then when I manifest that understanding, it's now Cipher. That's an oxymoron, right? If you saying that because this God did this like this, so I'm gonna do this like this. You know, these gods at 15, 14, when they had to leave their house because their parents were swine eaters and they couldn't administer how they wanted to live in their parents' house, and they had to leave out the house, so they band together and they rented rooms. They ate beans, they ate bread, right? Because this is what they had to do, right? They was young. So you can't tell me as a 50-year-old man, I supposed to live like that. I supposed to let all these brothers, these gods, in my house, right? Because this was going on. No, you a grown person now. We're not children, right? You should have friends. You should have your home. You should have resources.
Now, that's something heavy because I know people that's above your years that don't have that.
Maybe not. Maybe like.
You saying we supposed to have that?
You supposed to, cause like, you supposed to have food, clothing, and shelter.
Right, and due to whatever circumstances,
we not barring tragedies. Mm-hmm. Like we not talking about.
No. I'm not even talking about tragedy. I'm just talking about just the war of what the black man was going through. Whatever. I know people. You know, because we was talking about like, you know, even a relationship with our women, right? A lot of these brothers don't have good relationships with women, right? And they don't have someone to go home to and get a hug. Simple as a hug.
Whose fault is that?
I'm not saying it's anybody else's fault.
That's no excuse. That's no excuse if you don't grow.
No, it's not. I'm just saying like God, there's different time periods of people's lives where they might have got diverted and may not have access to those things. But they get to their power ciphers, equality ciphers, God ciphers, and they don't have.
You know I can't. As a man that almost did 20 years in prison, I just can't respect that, yo. I just can't respect that. Like that's just
no. It's not respectable. How I'm just outlining that for
when you say you are the father of civilization and God of the universe, right? And then saying that yo, you can't figure it out, that is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what, we can't always control what happens to us, but we can't control how we respond or how we push forward, right? Everybody has went through low points in their life, right? Now, if you choose to stay in those low points, that's on you, right? That's like that's like I get a check. I get working. I'm a working man, right? So it's just certain things I can't do, right? I can't go to a strip club and trick off my rent money, right? That's a fact, right? So that's me being responsible. So right, I can't take care. I can't buy a Beamer if I'm taking care of my daughter at a high level. Some sacrifices got to be made. I'd rather my daughter have a good quality of life and I don't have no Beamer, right? Because I can't get the big one. What's the point of having one, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, these are the sacrifices we make. These are the choices that we make, right? So it's like, if somebody doesn't have certain things at a certain age, if they physically able to do certain things, right? And they're capable, there's no excuse, right? So I'm not, when I gotta focus and do what I gotta do, I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not popping edibles, cause I'm on it, and you know what I mean? And let's be real, like I don't have nothing I drink, right? And I pop edibles. I really don't smoke because the weed is trash, but that's a whole nother story, right? But I deal with first things first and last things last, right? And this is something I always used to hear inside of this culture, right? You deal with first things first and last things last, right? Having some place, being clean, first things first, right? Because you have to deal with people. Proper hygiene, first things first, right? Having somewhere to lay your head, first things first, right? How do you accumulate resources to trade for exchange for other resources to have a certain quality life? That's first things first. So if I'm not dealing with first things first, what I look like coming outside and trying to build on 120? I can't even take you seriously. Right? Like, and that's just the way that I think and I understand. But I still respect you. Because I'm never going to disrespect a man. Whether they God or not, right? Because that's just my personal understanding of how I move. Right? But like, no, so like, yo, we gotta like, everybody has the same right and ability to get it right. You know, so, and it's like, I see the guards that came home before me, that I dealt with, they got it jumping. The guards that came home with me, most of them got it jumping. The guards that came home after me that I deal with, they got it jumping. Right? So it's like, so you can't say, well, it's just you, right? No, I know a whole collective of guards that's getting it right. They some of them got different types of 9 to 5s. You know what I mean? Some of them got houses and homes and wives. Some of them got houses and homes, wives and nice cars, right? But this is and all these brothers did numbers. Right, so if you trying to tell me that men that was from teenagers to young adults and went to prison and came home as mature men that didn't have the time to build a foundation like they would like for the ages that they are to live even better, but still came through whatever that hell they went through, came out here, whatever they say, yo, you know what? I gotta go back to school. You know what? I gotta go get me a trade. You know what? I gotta do this because, yo, I don't want to live a certain way. To me, that's the definition of knowledge of self. Knowing where you want to be at in life. Right? So you can say, well, you know, life beats me up, right? I think it was a Rocky joint. He told his son, I think he said, yo, nothing hits harder than life, yo. But you gotta hit back. We all go through some shit. We all gonna take a fall. But that doesn't mean you gotta stay in the mud. Right? So it's like cats that's gangsters, right? I respect that they gangsters until they rap, right? If you say you a gangster, you doing gangster stuff, I respect that because that's what you say you are, right? Even if you a 5%er. But once you rap, your word is not bond, nothing you said is valid to me, right? Because, and if you knew, like me personally, it was two things I knew I wasn't going to be when I came home in 2014. I wasn't going to be a real nigga, and I wasn't going to be a rat. So I stayed out the way of those ciphers, those currents, to where I don't got to worry about that. You know what I mean? So, because if I got to be real and take a case for you, when you not stepping up to take your own case, I don't want to be put in that situation. Right? Then if I say, yo, I'm not taking this case, this is it, now I'm a rat, now I go against all my own, now I got to kill myself. Because I ain't even who I am no more. I'm going to die one time, yo. I'm not going to die 1,000 deaths. I'm going to die one time. So you already know, because we got knowledge of soul, you know what you built for and what you ain't built for. Right? So we have choices. So since I can't be this or that, and I didn't even want to be that. So it wasn't even no struggle. Right? So I put myself around different people, places, and things. So I can get different results and have different experiences. Right? That's it. To me, that's being wise. That's loving yourself, yo. Loving your people, right? Because your people, your family, they deserve to be with you, yo. They deserve to have you, over for dinner, sharing good moments with you, man. That's the greatest feeling in the world. Why would I want to take that away? For what? Nah, G. So we put ourselves in the currents that we need to grow, man. It's like in science, right? They put certain bacteria in a medium for it to grow. So what medium are you putting yourself in to grow? And everybody have that choice, right? You know what I mean? So, so I don't like, so if gods of a certain age, they don't have it together, that's on them. They don't have.
No, it is on them.
If they don't have access to women, that's on them too,
That's
right?
on them. Yeah, no,
So it's like
on
the
them.
things that make a man in harmony with himself, which makes him in harmony with everything in the universe. You have to develop that, right? You have to develop that, Cause me, I ain't gonna be miserable. That's just a fact. I'm not gonna be miserable. I'm not gonna have without, and I'm not gonna take anything from anybody, right? And I'm not gonna cheat nobody neither. So, and that's just my personal stance. Going back to my understanding is the best understanding. So how I express myself with inside of this culture, can't nobody say is not right and exact, right? So it's like, and if you say that, well, put your behavior up against my behavior. Put your work up against my work, right? I'm cool with standing trial. Let our peers judge, right? It's a different. Now we getting into different sciences right there, And hey, man, you gotta love this culture to the point to where it's inside your soul, man. And you want it to be here when you gone, right? You want other people to experience knowledge of self. And when, as much crazy stuff that you see on the internet, you know damn well that they need knowledge of self, right? All you gotta do is just watch. They got whole pages dedicated to dudes in prison doing stupid stuff, right? To where younger people thinking, oh, I can go in there and do that. Yeah, I can have a phone. I can go. You know, they look like they having fun, but they ain't showing you the dude that got slaughtered, right? They ain't showing you when you go on lockdown and they don't give you no showers. They ain't showing you when you go to the hole, you got shackles on your feet, handcuffs behind your back, and a dog leash on the handcuffs, and they taking you outside the wreck and putting you in a dog cage. They ain't showing that, right? You know what I mean? So like, so people of these younger generations, they getting a perverted understanding. Same thing with like the women, like. It's like, for some reason, when me and other guys building on Ratchet culture, a lot of women want to be whores now, right?
That's what's being sold to them.
Yeah. So we always had Ratchet culture, right? But Ratchet culture was never mainstream culture for us.
No, that's what I'm saying. They made it mainstream.
Yeah.
It's been
So like,
mainstream level.
I seen a clip right from this podcast. It was this lady. She was married. She was plus size. She started working out. As soon as she started working out, coming down, she started cheating on her husband. Cause she said, "Yo, I want this type of attention." So you want attention of being a whore.
Attention is one hell of a drug.
Yeah, so you'll break your family up. All women always talk about they want to be married. They want to do, so when they get the marriage and all that type of stuff, as soon as they get a chance to be a whore, they be a whore. And that's not saying this is everybody, but this is it's quite a few to where you keep seeing it on repeat, right? So I'm like, wow, like this is where we at. So like I said before, so what I do is I go in my algorithms, I go to black couples, black love, black excellency, right? Because I need this food to go in my mind.
That's what you want to see, right? That's what you want.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, and I know it's a strategic effort because you can watch, sometimes something a clip catch your eye. Mm-hmm. You can watch that clip, and next thing you know, your whole algorithms change. But yet, when you watch this clip over here, it don't change. Like you got to strategically go in there for plus like you got to do something physically to change it, right? Like so, it's like so it's a war for the minds going on. So that knowledge of self is needed. But if we say we got knowledge of self and we don't look no different from in behavior and the people that we say is uncivilized, why would I want to have knowledge of self? Why would I want to go through that vigorous training? When your behavior is no different than the people that you said that's uncivilized. And I don't think we look at that, right? It's like, we have work to do, but the greatest work we have to do is to work on ourselves.
First and foremost.
Because it's like, and that's the thing that I see the most, right? What's the work we doing on ourselves, right? And it's like, back to what we were saying about the collective ethos, but we didn't say it like that. But that's what we was alluding to, right? So it's like, in our culture, right? You say, well, why can't we? I remember brothers tried to raise 10,000 to do something. They couldn't even raise 10,000, right? Which is crazy to me. When my daughter dance school, they raised $10,000 in 24 hours selling popcorn, right? So sometimes we gotta look at
trust and values, man. Like
you see what I'm saying?
Where's people's trust and where are people's values at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes like just trying new things. But if you don't know nothing new, you keep trying the old thing, right? So it's like people that's like active, have been active in their children's life, they see other things as well too, right? Or actually talk to their children or talk to young people like young people and not little kids, right? You'll learn different things, right? You'll have different understanding, so you can try new things, like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, that's like, I go to cryptocurrency meetups, right? Since 2016. I've been on all of that stuff. Some of the stuff I don't like NFTs. I'm not a real fan of just the art NFT, but I do like if it's attached to something physical like a book or music or something like that, right? But it's not enough people yet that's on it. So if you've got a certain, like somebody asked me why did I make one of my books to an NFT, I said because my market ain't dealing with cryptocurrency, right? You got to know they don't know nothing about no Cardona. They don't know nothing. They might only know about Bitcoin because of it's became mainstream language, but they don't really know about cryptocurrency. They don't know about decentralization. So why would I create something and then gotta educate them on something that's not even fully integrated, that's still like the Wild West as we speak, right? Because you gotta be wise, so you gotta create something in a medium which people can get it if you want them to have it. Now, if you don't want them to have it, but a select few, then you sell it in the phantom coin. See how many people, even if they don't first, they gotta find out how to even get that coin for one, because it's not sold everywhere, right? So it's being realistic, right? But I think that knowing what's going on, knowing the changes, because sooner or later this stuff is going to be integrated into our society, just like PayPal was, right? Remember at one time you couldn't pay for stuff with PayPal, right? PayPal wasn't in Uber 10 years ago, in the Uber app, right? Google Play, Google Pay, that wasn't in the apps a year ago. Not a year ago, but a few years ago, right? So as technology get integrated, then you can start creating because people are more comfortable. But until they get there,
I just want to be mindful of, like, you know, with this technology and the way things are going, they're actually making a new people. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like, you know, this whole transhumanism thing, right? Right? They making a new people, right? Now, with this knowledge, I know the importance of building your own ciphers, right? People dealing with people of their own like mind, so you come together people of like mind, and you can actually fight against, you know, the majority who's actually going in this direction, because they're this bio-digital convergence thing that's happening, where they're putting with the augmented reality, the chips or you know, trying to get rid of your phone, right? Like now you're going to be communicating with your glasses or your watch, and you're going to have your watch implanted into your skin. That's transhumanism, right? Yeah. So this is what the technology is going, and people are vying for it because they think that they buy into that. Like, this goes back to their values, and they think that you know, I can be stronger than you by putting a chip in my arm, right, or a chip in the back of my ear. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get 90 of them because I'm, you know, now I can feel like I can battle you now. I can actually stand on the same court as you.
So some of that stuff is crazy, but you know this is how. So you know that
this is where technology's going.
You know that they just grafted a dire wolf, right? That been extinct for 13,000 years, right?
No, I didn't hear about that. But
they named them Romulus and Remus
from Rome. Okay, see, you see what I'm saying? This is what a weak and grafted man is doing and is putting into the atmosphere.
But you know that's what with
To like
technology.
Elon Musk and whatnot, like this is where he's putting his money at.
Technology, right? Technology, or this with anything, it always have a duality to it,
Yes,
right?
of course, yeah.
So you always gonna have those extremists. That's like, I forgot the gentleman name, the billionaire, and he be using his son blood, and he take 1,800 pills a day. He trying to reverse his age and stuff like that, right? So it's like you always gonna have, I call those people on the fringes, right? You know what I mean? And who knows, some useful information might come from out of that, right? Right? Some useful information. But with the technology, my thing is that we have to detour some of our children so we can combat some of that, right?
No, and that's what I'm getting at. Because I had a bill with Sunez, a couple of the classes that he had to go. He mentioned the science of, or the term legacy humans, meaning the people who fight against getting vaccines, who fight against getting, the chips and everything. We're going to be considered those people, or the legacy, like leaving, like. And I actually wanted to say something about when I was building the Matrix mentioned like the legacy human, people who are not connected to the system. You know what I'm saying? So this culture, not everybody, because like I said, goes back to your value system. Some people are plugged into from this culture. You know what I'm saying? Some people went and got the vaccine. Some people, believe in transhumanism or this whole bio-digital convergence. But then there are people who say, yo, no, I'm actually not with that,
Yeah, but all of that, like,
I'm saying
I don't see like one is right or one is wrong. I think extremism, and I don't care which way of the road. I don't care which way. I think extremism is wrong because it's the law of extremism, right? It's like one extreme pushes the other extreme, right? Light is good, right? But if I put light in your face, you blind. So it's just like you being in the dark. So I think that whatever you practice, you can't practice extremism with it, and you can't practice it to the point where if somebody is not, if their understanding is different, you have to have room for them to have their understanding, right? And not be like, oh, that's now Cipher. Oh, no, I just don't. Whatever your rationale and your reason for doing certain things, I respect it. I'm listening to it. I respect it, but that's not my reason or rationale, right? No. I'm saying no. I'm saying that
I get what you're saying.
This is how we supposed to be, to where we still supposed to be in home.
Right. I'm just saying. Okay, God, you have a certain mandate for your family. Like you would say, all right, for me and my family, I'm not going to do this. And to extend it to the cipher that I'm building with those who are like, okay, this is why I don't do it, and here are the dangers, here's the pros and cons of this, and this is the cipher that we're building. You see what I'm saying? And respect to anybody who's going to do what they're going to do that may oppose what we're doing, but this is here in terms of goes for preserving the original man, because like I said, they're making a new people, right? So now you say like to preserve the original man, this is what like the father said, or Allah said, don't deal with white women. That's to preserve the original man. Don't go that route. Leave dope alone to preserve. Like these are the values that we need to have so that we don't get caught up in those pitfalls of those ideas. You get what I'm saying? So you don't want to get caught up in transhumanism. And then now you look into the future, and all your grandbabies is transhumanism. Like you want to figure out a way to protect your because this is what I see down the line, and it's becoming something where as simple as being able to communicate, being
But a lot of that stuff is not even for us, right?
No, it's not.
So it's like when you talk about transhuman, all this and that, right? The average black person or brown person, they don't even care about that, right? So it goes back to a people that have a negative population growth, right? So if you got a negative population growth, you're going to try to find out ways how to use survival.
And to extend your
So
expiration date.
it's this show on Netflix I like, but it's from a book where they download their consciousness on a stack.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they call the body a sleeve. You know what I mean? So long as you just stack
What
moves
movie
like
is this? It's a flick or is it?
it's a series. The dude Mackey played in the second season of it. You know what I mean? But it's a series, and I was like, wow, like, you know what I mean? So you can download your consciousness like on a microchip.
That's, see?
You know what I mean? And it's from a novel. Let me see if I can find that.
Now, think about the reverse polarity of that to, you know, the idea of like, yo, we could imagine if you could download the consciousness of Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just download that. This is where the people are at right now. Wanting to just download the consciousness of, you know, and yeah, I want to preserve my great grandmother's consciousness. So all I gotta do is put it on a disc and download it, and I could, you know, now my children, my great grandchildren, and so forth can just download. Yo, I mean, God, it's getting
that would be dope. You won't think so?
No, but in that way now, reverse the polarity again. What kind of control do you have over people that opt into that kind of system?
See, that's a different topic. I'm gonna find myself. That's a different topic. But what I'm saying with technology, right? Regardless, like I be watching this dude sometimes named something Montgomery. He was a hacker, right? And he be showing all the different type of self-taught, right? And he's on a elite level with it. So I'm like, yo, how can we even defend if we have to defend or compete if we don't even understand the technology?
That's another part right there. That part. You don't even understand the technology.
Yeah, so it's like, and I think
people are opted into this technology not knowing the full scope.
No, I'm talking about as far as developing the technology. I'm not talking about case use of the technology, right? So it's like if we don't understand, right, and if we don't create, then we are subject to it, right?
Yes.
Versus being creators of it. Because once you understand how something works, and if you civilize, you're gonna create something that the people will need, right? You know what I mean? But if you don't understand it at all, then that puts you at a disadvantage. And I think that we're quick to put our son, give him a basketball, football, which nothing wrong with that. But when we try to say this is your exclusive realm of activity, right? At the expense of thinking, look at I like the brother from Boston Celtics. He's nice in basketball, but he's nice everywhere. You know who I'm talking about. I don't know his name, but I know when I see him. You know what I mean? He's highly educated, right? And he's a scholar. And he I think he won MVP for the Celtics and stuff like that, right? So, and I think that when we with our children, right? It's like we push them when you just don't have to be one way. You just don't have to be this at the expense of that. Because we're going to need these mental tools. We're going to need people with certain type of skill sets. We're going to need people that know what multi-language models are. Right? We're going to need people. AI is already in everything. Right? So we're going to need people to actually develop an AI for our needs.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? So, but if we not
in those arenas, and we don't have...
And that's right. If we not in those arenas, like most people don't know, I forgot the black dude name. The richest black man the richest black person in America got is in tech. Right? Not no entertainer, And it's crazy because his name eludes me, but as soon as I Google, it's gonna pop up. But we know Oprah Winfrey name off the bat, right? We know Magic Johnson, we know Michael Jordan, we know Jay-Z, right? But the person that's actually the richest black man in this country from a non-entertainment perspective, his name eludes our mind when it should be dripping off our tongue. Right? So, and that shows you, so what if we start showing young people, look, this dude got a bag, because this is what they say, right? This dude got a bag, and he didn't get no bag from dribbling no basketball. He got a bag from using his mind. Like, this is what I try to reinforce with my seed, right? Like, when she, like, do good, any, like on tests or this and that like that, I might get her something out the blue. She be like, well, I say, yo, because I want to show you that, yo, like, you do what you do, you're supposed to be rewarded, because that's what happens in real life. The more you understand, the more you move, the better quality that you have. So if you reinforce with children, hey, like, your academic excellency is paramount to your success, that's your job. You know, and you're gonna get rewarded for that, because like, yo, because we don't, like, we just expect our seeds to do stuff without, you know what I mean, reinforcing the rewards of it. We are quick to give the justice of something, but we are not equally quick to give the rewards. And we say what? You know what I mean? Penalty what? Award what? Justice what? How is that justice if all you get is a penalty? Right? And I think that moving away from that type of mind state and reinforcing excellence in children. Like my daughter, they just sent me a video. She's swimming right now. She has swimming lessons, doing a butterfly. I can barely do the doggy paddle, right? Because we supposed to pour into our seed children, better than what we have based off the understanding we have, so they can take our understanding and then grow their own understanding, right?
I'm 100% with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm only saying that see what you manifesting is rooted in your values, God. Like you come here and you building based on your values and your principles. And I just see in the cipher at large, not in this particular cipher, us, but in the cipher at large, there are people with contrasting values and principles. And this is where we have to really like, I either, they're either worthy of being taught or they're worthy of being exiled from the cipher.
They don't have to be exiled from the cipher because you know why? Because at the end of the day, we a culture, right? And inside of a culture, you have different currents, right? I don't have to rock with that current to respect that it exists.
No. I don't mean that. I mean so more so. I respect that, but okay, that doesn't belong here in this particular cipher. It's like when you have a home, that's a cipher, right? A person, place, or thing. So you have your cipher. There's just certain things that belong in your cipher, and then there's certain things that just don't. Like, okay, I respect that, but that can't come in my cipher.
I understand what you're doing. That's why they do it. Like when I see the whole culture, right? I remember one time, and I was reading a power paper. This had to be like in Born Equality, '96, right? And in it was saying something was doing the parliament. Somebody got up, I guess it was a disagreement, and they said half the parliament left with him, right? So I was like, oh, that's, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm expecting to see some more, bills going on, right? I didn't see that. So I don't think that we all supposed to live under the same understanding, under the same rules, under the same regulation, right? Because whatever
certain things are more proper. Certain things are proper for certain ciphers.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So I'm saying that this is why it's incumbent for like minds. This is why, like, Like one thing I like about the PRT, it's a thinking degree. I think it's an open source the way it's written, but you're supposed to be progressive, resourceful, and a thinker. If you can't deal with the 3 P's, which is being practical, progressive, and productive, we don't have nothing in common, right? So like, and if you choose not to live like that, that's on you. But water finds its own level. So I'm going to find the water in the wells that I want to drink from, and hopefully some people want to drink from my well, and then we can build, right? I think we spend too much time on what doesn't exist versus nurturing and cultivating what does exist, right? So it's like, because, you know, it's a lot of people in our culture that's like, they really are ignorant, right? So it's like, they ignorant, they don't have certain skill sets, right? Why I'm gonna waste my time, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, because if you a certain age and if you ignorant at a certain age and you haven't developed your certain skill sets at a certain age, you have no use. Regardless of how you see yourself, you have no use. Like, if all you want to do is tell me stories, like, how many times I'm going to hear the same story? You know what I mean? And how many times I'm going to hear the same stories from different perspectives of that same story?
That's just people who love the history, want to keep telling that history.
But
Passing that history down.
listen. I have history too. I have history. I just turned 50, so I'm just getting to my 50 history. I have 40-year-old history. I have 30-year-old history. I have 20-year-old history. I have 10-year-old history, and I have baby history, right? So it's like the fact that I'm constantly living, I'm making history.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't get stuck on, hey, this is how, if I just tell you all the stories about a particular period of me, you're going to see me in a different way, right? You be like, damn, I didn't know he get rid of like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, because I have more experiences. That's like me talking about this one girl that I had in '93, and it's 2025. I haven't had no other experience with women since then. That doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me, right? History class is over here, right? You still got math, you still got science, you still got English, you still got other things that makes you well-rounded as a person. And that's called development, right? If you telling me about the highlight of your life was when you was a teenager in your early 20s, that means you ain't did nothing, right? You didn't do anything. So why didn't you do anything? That's a different level of conversation. And I don't be want to hear it. Me personally, I don't be want to hear it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and people like, oh, you need to walk with this God, here, this. I'm like, you making assumptions that I haven't walked with certain gods. Because I don't mimic shit, right? Whatever was given to me, I did the knowledge to it, and I filed it in my memory decks, right? That's it.
Well, it's children that do the most mimicking. You know what I mean? Those are the ones, like, when they were children, they were amongst these great gods, and they got this history, and they mimicked them, and then they grew into their own person, and
supposed to grow into your own person.
Supposed to grow into your own person and begin to write your own history.
Yeah.
But not everybody's doing it. A lot of people are repeating history.
And that's on them, right? But it's not, I'm not going to be a slave to that. Right? So I think that when you're really a thinker, when you really stand on fortitude, when you really stand and you really about something, people see that, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, They might isolate you. They might say, I ain't dealing with that God right there for whatever reasons, right? But they can't never say, yo, the God now Cipher,
Right.
right? So I ain't gonna be bullied, right? That's not gonna happen. You see what I'm saying? So it's like the best thing to do is you stay in your square, I stay on my square.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
You know what I mean? Because I'ma do the knowledge and I'ma respect, right? I don't see nothing in that first degree in supreme mathematics that says like or dislike. It says respect, right? And I think sometimes the problem we have in this culture, other people don't respect where other people are at. It's like you got to do it my way or you not right and exact. That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous, man. You know what I mean? That's lunacy. You know what I mean? And it's like, because it goes against the core value of two things. Your understanding is the best understanding, and understanding come in time, right? So maybe what you trying to give a person, they don't have the understanding for that, right? Or they just don't care about that. Or they already have their understanding based off of their experiences, based off their researches, based off of who they built with, right? In the fundamental development. And you have to respect that. Now, once you say you can't respect that, then you create embellishment, right? So, because if I create bad blood with you, I'm creating embellishment. Because I'm trying to force my way on you. I'm trying to force my ideology on you. That's creating embellishment, right? People think talking loud, talking over talking people, that means that they point getting across. No, that just means to me that you might be a fool, right? Because wise men supposed to be able to have discourse in a civilized manner, right? Men don't raise their voice at other men, right? Once you raise your voice at a man, the conversation is over with. Because you no longer, you're trying to overpower me with sound. And if a person like me, I'm laid back naturally. So I ain't with all of that aggressive type talk, right? You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna feel offended, right? And then I might ask you, like, what is this really about, right? Because I've talked to many people, many different levels, many different understandings, and it's always been civilized. So if we build it and it's not civilized, well, what are you talking about now? What's your objective or your agenda, right? Because if you don't respect what I'm saying, then it's no need for us to share, right? And that's just the bottom line. But like maturity supposed to come in time, right? Maturity supposed to also come in experience. And if you've been through a lot of different things, your level of maturity is going to be different, right? Just like somebody that's really been violent, right? As a younger person, they're not trying to be violent as an older person because they know what it looked like. People that fake violent, they still trying to be tough. They still trying to be something. A person that whatever you said you did or trying to do, some people already done, right? And they realize that who did I apply this violence against? Not intended with somebody that looked at just like you. Right? So now when you got knowledge of self, you got like, yo, how can I put myself in a position to willingly hurt somebody that look like me? Because we disagree. That doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Because if you say you get busy, I don't need to say I get busy. It is what it is, right? It's going to be a problem. And how is that harmonious? How is that building? And I think that's what it is, right? But yo, God, it was definitely built. I gotta get to the other side.
Okay, I appreciate you.
Yeah, let's take a picture for you.
Real quick before you go,
Go.
add on about Sunez, the forward from Sunez.
So Sunez did a wonderful foreword, right? Peace. You know what I mean? He did the foreword to this book because I like Sunez as a writer. I like Sunez as I think he was the editor for the Source and the Vibe. I think he's really a scholar, and I think that he had to be a part of this project. Like, he was the first person I thought about doing a foreword. So if he would have said no, I don't know where I was going. That's just to be honest. And I think the way he opened up the book for me, you know, I think I couldn't let it down. But glad he wrote the foreword after he read the book. Because had he wrote the foreword before he read the book, it'd have been a hard act to follow. You know what I mean? So I respect the God. That's my bro. You know what I mean? And well deserving to be in such a project as monumental as this, right? Because this right here shows people that you can come from somewhere to the cipher and transition along the way, right? Because we never say, how do we get to the cipher? It's like we just popped up like a vegetable or something. No, everybody has a history, right? And when you showing people your history, you telling them what's this and that, then you become a part of the overall culture, right? This the book right here, and it's on Amazon. Go pick it up. A 5% Journey from the Streets to the Cipher. I am Mallah Divine, and I like to say to everybody out there that's part of our culture, yo, we gotta have extreme love for each other, and love is the highest form of understanding if we want to progress forward. You don't have to see like I see. I'm probably not going to see like you see, but we can always work together. And if you have that type of understanding, you want to work together, you want to reach out, just reach out. I'm available within reason, right? Within reason. Peace to the culture.
Peace, God.
Peace.
You must do your own research, as I did.
If Mecca did this.